In Peterborough, match day starts long before kick-off. And whether you're heading to the pub, the ground, or just tuning into the podcast, Hyundai gets you there in comfort, style, and with room for your mates. Visit Smith's Hyundai, your local Hyundai experts and proud supporters of Up the Poshcast.
Hello and welcome to the first ever countdown to kickoff by Up the Poshcast, the number one Peterborough United fan channel. This is in preview of Cardiff away, the first game of the 25-26 season. I'm joined by Charlie, Max, and Cardiff City fan, diehard fan, Austin. How are you tonight, Austin?
I'm brilliant. Thank you for having me, boys. Yeah, really excited to be on the show. I'm a friend of Max's, so I'm feel like I've been on the journey with the boys. But yeah, excited to get talking on all things Posh, and obviously getting a little insight from me about all Cardiff's expectations this season, and obviously Saturday's game.
Bit of housekeeping before we start. Our sponsor of tonight's episode is Smith's Motor Group, a local dealership of Hyundai cars, used and new, financing options available. That open 7 days a week, state-of-the-art showroom. If you're thinking about changing your vehicle, get yourself down there to Bretton Way and have a look. There may be a Hyundai for you, which is the correct pronunciation as they have informed us. What else have we got? This is being recorded on Wednesday night. Now, ideally, we'll be recording Countdown to Kickoff on Fridays live, because then we'll have the interviews from the club and a bit more guarantee on team news. But for this first one, just because of availability, it's on Wednesday night. So if some of this information comes a little bit out of date with injuries or signings, please forgive us. And that's it. Let's get into it. So first off, Austin, I will just come to you. Talk me through the relegation. Are you over it?
No, not at all. It was something that Max can vouch. I was in denial all season. I think we were rock bottom from the beginning of the season to a lot longer than I thought we were going to be, and then we picked up, and then I thought, oh, we're all right here, and then we just dropped off again massively. And I can speak for, I think, all Cardiff City fans that we should, like, as the club, the size of the club, we should not be in League One. Something's got to change, and hopefully change is coming with, obviously, I'm not sure if you guys have heard the bid from Gareth Bale and his consortium. That would be brilliant if that could go through, or if just someone could take the club off Vincent Tan, our current owner. Because at the last game of the season, there was a lot of the atmosphere was rather, I'm not sure how to put this, but it wasn't happy. I'll say that. Not only from the fans, but I feel like the players just sort of looked a bit defeated with, I'm not sure what it's like behind doors, but it looked like you could tell who cares for the club and you could tell who doesn't. And I think that was made pretty obvious with who's left, who's left already, and who's planning to stay. But yeah, I'm not happy, but I do think we will bounce straight back up. Where I know a lot of people have us as favourites to either win the league or go up second or through the playoffs. I know Max doesn't quite agree. We've had a conversation about this, but I think that, look, if we can maintain half the squad that we've got at the moment, we should walk League One. I know that might be a crazy statement to make, but it's something that I believe and a lot of Cardiff fans do believe.
Yeah, you obviously mentioned the size of the club, and I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that. I think for me, what I wanted to ask is sort of about that background noise. We've seen clubs come down and get stuck here, big clubs. You look at Portsmouth, you look at Blackpool more recently, Wigan more recently, come down and get stuck. And half the time, a lot of it is because there is a lot of negative background noise surrounding the club at the time. Now, as of recording, you've had 11 outgoings and no incomings. There's been no squad strengthening. On top of that, as you've mentioned, and I've been quite clued up on, there is a lot of noise surrounding your owner, and your fans are not happy with the way that he is running the club. Do you think that there's any sort of possibility that Cardiff gets to? I personally have you finishing 10th this season, which is probably a little bit low. But I just think that you're going to come down and struggle a bit. And the reason for that is because of all this noise. And we've seen that blueprint from other clubs. Do you think that is a worry? Do you think not strengthening in areas that you might need strengthening in, or how the noise around the, if, for example, you lose a stretch of games, do you think it can become quite toxic and make it a difficulty for the players to play? Like, what could you see happening in terms of that noise?
Look, I think this season, Cardiff City Stadium is not going to be somewhere where fans will want to go, or at least not the first half of the season. But I think club, we've got the potential. Even though we've lost an obscene amount of players and not brought anyone in, we've still maintained a lot of the key players from last year. Obviously, we lost Aaron Ramsey pretty early doors this summer. But I think losing players such as Ramsey, as big of a name as he is, and, club legend came through the academy, I just don't think it makes that much of a difference, because he was injured all last season, played a few games. When he played, don't get me wrong, you can tell he's just a league above everyone else. But I just don't see us getting stuck. But I don't know if I'm blinded by the potential that we've got, because I think we either walk League One or, as you say, we get stuck. And I know that's a pretty obvious thing to say, but I don't see us being one of the teams that goes up in the playoffs. I think if we're to go up, we're first or second. And that's what I hope that's the case. And if we can maintain players, then yeah, I think that's going to be such an ideal situation for the club. And with, we've not played in competitions such as the Virtue Trophy and all that. I know you guys are a big fan of that one.
It's great. Best competition in England, that one.
Look, I'm sure you guys think so, but hopefully we get our day out at Wembley, because I don't see anyone taking us to our limits, other than maybe the teams that came down with us.
You've got a new manager in Brian Barry Murphy. Feels like he's been linked with pretty much every big job that's come up in League One for years now. Finally got a new club. What do you think about his philosophy? Do you think he's going to be a good appointment for you guys? And where do you think he ranks in terms of the other managers at this level?
I'll be honest, I didn't know much about him before he came. But from our pre-season results, although we've not had any hard games, I'd say, other than maybe QPR, we've not lost in pre-season. From what I've seen, we've been phenomenal. We've played football that I've not seen Cardiff play in a while, which is exciting football. But the only issue is it's the same as last season, where we're going ahead and we're losing leads, which I hope that's something that he can maybe iron out before the season starts. But, we played Cambridge, beat them 5-1. County drew 2-2 to them. Yeah, I thought you guys would like that one. I thought I'd get that one in. And then QPR, we went 2-1 up against them, ended up drawing 2-2. But look, I think if he can maintain the squad that we've got at the moment, I know I keep going on about maintaining that squad, but he's got the players for it, then, I think he will prove himself as a manager in League One, and then hopefully Championship next season if we do go up, which I'm planning that we do.
All right. It's going to be interesting. Let's move on to the lineups, expected lineups. Again, to reiterate, this is Wednesday night. Things could change, but at time of recording, it's looking likely for Peterborough United that Alex Bass will be out of this game. And by likely, I mean, I'll be amazed if he is anywhere in the squad for this. That makes it likely, unless we sign a lone goalkeeper, that Nicholas Bilakapic will start. We expect Sam Hughes and new signing David Akagbue to start at centre-back, Harley Mills to be at left-back. The right-back position is a bit more interesting. It could be Vice-Captain Carl Johnson. It could be Academy product James Dornelli, probably likely to be CJ for this first game. At time of recording, we would expect a midfield three of Archie Collins, Brandon Keller, and one of Chris Con-Clark or Donne O'Brien Brady. Whether that is going to be possible by the time we get to Saturday, we shall see. On the wings, we're expecting Abraham Oddo and Declan Frith, and up front, the new rejuvenated, back into the fold, big bad Bradley Ihombian up top. Austin, I'd just like to come to you. Can you give me an estimate of what you think the Cardiff lineup will be?
Yeah. Well, from looking at, I'll go off our last couple of games of the season where we played a 4-2-3-1. We went down rock bottom. I can't say that worked too well, but the players that we've lost from that squad, I think there's a few that are vital, and then there's a few that I think could be easily replaced. I think we've lost Callum O'Dowda. He played as our captain. Him and Joe Riles, he's also left. I think it's going to take someone to step up to sort of fill the roles that they played, because they were both phenomenal footballers, but I also need them to, and I say I need them, but I think the club needs people to rise to the occasion and play those roles. I think it's guaranteed that if Salek stays, he'll be our starting man. Him and Robertson, Alex Robertson, who's, I'm not sure if you saw any of how he was last season, but he was phenomenal. Kian Ashford, he sort of came into the squad massively last season, pretty young still. Ruben Colwell, I think all City fans can easily say that they love him. Oh, little voice got there, getting emotional. No, love Ruben Colwell, even though he's from Swansea originally. He's from Neath, but you can tell he's Cardiff. Unless you hear him speak, he sounds like he's from Neath. But other than that, I can't. It's so up in the air with everything that's going on. I mean, we had Aaron Ramsey as our manager last game of the season last year. It's difficult to say what Murphy's going to do with his squad, but I'm excited. I can't give anything away because obviously, I'm not too in the know. But from what I've gathered from pre-season, it looks like it's going to be attacking football, and that's all I can say about that.
It's going to be very interesting to see, because we are trying to introduce a proper front press from what we've seen in pre-season. And that against attacking football is going to be pretty interesting. Let's get into what our expectations are of the game. We'll come to actual score predictions at the end. But for now, Max, what are you expecting to see at 12:30 hits this coming Saturday?
Well, I think it's going to be really quite interesting in terms of how the game can unfold, because I can see it going one of two ways. The first being is that if we can get a goal early and the crowd sort of get a bit negative, we might be able to sneak away with a win, or I think we're going to get battered. I don't really think there's much in between. This squad again, a lot of it again, we've lost a lot of the spine from last season in Kipriano, Ricky and Poku. Do I think we've replaced well enough to compete with a team that's come down from the championship, and as Austin has sort of said, has still a lot of talent despite losing a lot of? I think that's something we'll have to wait and see on. But realistically, we need to use what we are so very good at, and that is hitting teams on the counter-attack. Our pace up front still, even whilst losing Ricky, is still something that is entirely undeniable. We still can break away and catch teams off guard. We may need to soak up pressure for 15 to 20, but if we can play a good ball out to someone like Frith or Oddo, if they're the players that start, Hayes or Lisby, if it's those two, Brad or Gustav, you get the point. We are going to be able to hit hard on the counter-attack, and that is something for me that I can see us doing. There's going to be a lot of pressure to soak up if what Austin's saying about attacking football is true. There's going to be a lot of attack, and our defence has got to be brittle. If they can do that, I can really see us walking away with something. But that goal has to come early, because if it doesn't, then I would be quite worried that we could be in a lot of trouble.
Again, I might be blinded by the Cardiff that I used to know, but I think that it's a walk in the park. Hopefully, a good start to the season for us. I think the squad's got the potential to go out there and, put on a show for the fans, and hopefully, because there hasn't been that nice atmosphere at the ground. I mean, there's not really that nice atmosphere at the ground until we're flying high in the Premier League. But we need to definitely start this season as we mean to go on. And I think that will start with a a comfortable home win on Saturday.
Yeah, Austin's writing my post-match tweets for himself. Thank you very much, Austin. A walk in the park, apparently. Listen, Austin, you've been a great guest, but he sounds like every sort of arrogant big club that comes swanning down from the championships and thinks they're in for an easy ride, doesn't he? I mean, we finished pre-season with a bit of a whimper, and I do have concerns that we're going to come out of the block slow. And I think that's my biggest concern, is that after about, 5-10 minutes, they will be all over us. They'll be running all over us, and we're going to be looking really shaky. But I actually think, sort of different to you, Max, obviously an early goal would help, but if we can get into half time sort of a 0-0, I actually would really fancy our chances from that point to go on and win the game. I think we've got a decent squad. I know that we're going to say that it's not great, but I think there are a lot of players that with confidence are very good footballers. You look at players like even Ado, who last season wasn't at his best. He is a good player when he's got confidence. If we can gain a bit of a foothold in the game, I think we'll be okay. You'll hear from my score prediction what I think is going to happen, but I'm actually not feeling as worried about it. I think the pressure is all on Cardiff. Early kickoff, it will be a decent attendance. Yeah, I think it will be, all on Cardiff. We can go in there and we can sneak something.
You know what? I actually agree with Austin. I mean, anyone who's watched our preseason prediction episode knows that I think we're getting relegated. And just to drive the point home, I think what we've shown this preseason is that we're capable of scraping past League Two sides when we're lucky, which is what happened against Milton Keynes. And when we play against a decent League Two team like Colchester, we draw 2-2 with our first team. And when we play our second string 11, with maybe a couple of exceptions, we get largely played off the park. I know we scored twice, but we still lost 3-2 to Grimsby. Like, where's the confidence coming when we play a team like Cardiff? Do you mind if I ask you a quick question, Austin? Because one of my main concerns is our inability to stop crosses, especially a concern from what I've seen from our fullbacks, to be honest with you, both stopping it coming in the first place and also once it's in, be able to deal with it and not going over someone's head. Have you got decent crosses in your team?
I think our wingers probably are one of our greatest strengths. We've got Chris Willock, we've got Ollie Tanner, we've got Ruben Colwell, Kian Ashford. And then if they can beat their man and get the ball into the box, we've either got Yusuf Salek or Callum Robinson to meet the balls that they put in the middle. So I think if that's something that we can utilise in League One and throughout the season and then carry that on, then it's something that we're definitely going to score plenty of goals from. And I really appreciate being called a big club by Charlie. That was something. Thank you, mate.
Harry has really learned his lesson about trying to poke the bear at big clubs coming down from the Championship, and he's played that one very safe. I just wanted to know, obviously, we've just spoken a little bit about stopping crosses, and that is definitely a weakness. I wanted to know, talking about the other end of the pitch, I've talked about counter-attacking football already. What are you like stopping the counter? Because you've spoken a lot about losing leads. Is that an area that you're extremely weak on, the defensive transition, or is it something that you think you're relatively strong on and that's not the problem? Because I think for me, it's about highlighting where you drop leads from and if it's something our team can exploit. And if it's from the counter, I think there actually could be a chance that we could cause some sort of an upset if that's the case.
It's hard because I'm not sure if you remember, Max, the start of last season, I was so confident that we had a solid chance of going up because of the summer that we had. I thought, we can seriously push on, but evidently turned out completely wrong. I think that our defence is something that we do need to. I'm not even saying it's something we need to look at, but we've lost O'Dowda. I think losing him is a massive loss to the club and the fans. He was someone that the club would get behind. He'd get the fans riled up. But if we don't improve our fullbacks, because we lost Andy Rinomota as well, he was phenomenal. We need to do a bit of business around that, around the back of the pitch. We will easily walk the league, but if we can maintain not conceding as many goals as we did last season, I know that's an obvious thing to say, but it's just sloppy play, players who sort of looked a bit, oh, I'm too good for this. Like, I know this might be, out on him, but Callum Chambers, he just doesn't seem like he wants to be at the club, and he does not want to be in League One. So I would not be surprised if he leaves us this summer, and then that's another defensive position to fill and work on. But I think Barry Murphy will definitely acknowledge that is something that he needs to work on after watching how we finished last season. Well, not even finished, just played the whole season.
Yeah, I think what Austin has just said there is some of the names he was dropping. I kind of forgot that they played for Cardiff, and that big and I was just giving about arrogance. Maybe it's actually quite good place faith. But no, I feel good. I feel like going into a new season pessimistic is never a good thing. Never a good thing. And I've never done it. And I think the opening day, it's a wet ground. You think about Reading 2 seasons ago. It's that kind of occasion. That was a fantastic smash and grab 1-0. I just think we should go into it feeling good. I think we've got, you talk about crosses into the box. Yeah, they are a concern. But also we've got Sam Hughes in the middle, who is an absolute unit. And, he will absolutely relish the chance to battle with Selec or Robinson. Akagbure could be anything, but there was a reason why Walsall were very good for the first half of last season. That's all I'm going to say. And, he was a part of that. He was a young player of the season. And then just going through the spine of the team, there are players that if it gets tricky, when the noises get loud, will try and take that game by the scruff of the neck. Players like Keller, I don't think are going to shirk the occasion. It's on TV. It'll be the most posh thing ever. Listen, when we are ruled out, that is when we are at our most dangerous. I was watching some predictions from people earlier today, predicting, Cardiff to wallop us 5-0, 4-1. That is when we're at our best. Nobody thought we'd win against Birmingham in that final. Nobody thought we'd go to Wrexham and win, but we managed to do it. What is the harm in a bit of optimism? I think, yes, they've got some scary names, and yes, they're a big club, and yes, it will be a good atmosphere. But what an opportunity to go out there and start the game and start the season with a bang.
Yeah, if I'm going to go down a bit more of an optimistic route and try and think about us getting a result here, then I agree. Part of it is just the Posh unexpected factor. I think of Derby away a couple of seasons ago. No one expected us to go there. The context is when we went there, we hadn't won a game. I think it was in front of a crowd of more than 15,000 for like 30 games straight. It was something nuts like that. Or maybe it's the other way around. It was over 30,000, 15 games. Either way, we often don't do well against big crowds. And yet sometimes we pull it out of the bag. I think as well, one factor that I am looking forward to seeing how we manage is it being a fairly big pitch. And I think back to some of Archie Collins' best games, hoping he's still here. And I think about Barnsley away a couple of seasons ago. I think about Derby away a couple of seasons ago. I think that even against smaller teams like Port Vale, which have massive pitches, he's played well against. So that gives me some confidence that, especially on a bit more of a wide pitch, he'll be able to get some more opportunity out to our wingers and find his passing range early on. And as Austin's just said, if you have less confidence in your defence as you do compared to your forward line, which your forward line sounds frightening. I can't believe I had no idea you have Callum Robinson, who's done it at championship level for many, many years, and I don't think he'll have any trouble in League One. It could be a ping pong game where it's whoever can utilize their forward abilities better and just desperately try and keep it out of the back of the net. I would love to see our fullbacks have a good game. I would love to see Dornelli position himself well when a cross comes in, head it away rather than letting it go over his head. I'd love to see CJ lock down whoever your left winger is on Saturday. Yeah, look, there's always a route to a win. It's just that route can look pretty narrow sometimes is all.
Yeah, I think there is a way. And it centers around one man for me. And I think there's going to be one man who's going to be in the headlines after Saturday for good news or bad news, either because he's scored the winner or he's been given a straight red card for trying to clock a Cardiff player. And that is Big Bad Brad. Austin, you will know exactly who we're talking about as soon as the teams take to the pitch. Our number 9, our big striker, he's going to be absolute mayhem. And he is going to absolutely relish it. If there's a big crowd, you think about Went to Wrexham, and there was an atmosphere. He was giving middle finger to the Wrexham fans as he strutted off the pitch. He is going to be absolutely relishing the challenge of Saturday, and I think he is going to be the point of difference one way or another. Big, physical. He can occupy more than one centre half on his day. It's going to be a great game. I am really excited for it. I think if you're not excited about it, then I don't know, what you can be excited for. And Big Bad Brad, you've got to love him. He's fantastic. He's such a lovable character, and I can just score at the end and giving it absolutely massive. I'm praying we get to see it.
Let's bring us back down to earth. The likelihood is that Carl Johnson gets sat down and Brad hits 2 Cardiff players and gets banned for the rest of the season. That is a serious possibility because Brad is a ticking red card time bomb. And as much as I love him, Charlie is so right, by the way. Like, I can't stress for any sort of like Cardiff fans listening to this or League One fans in general who have tuned in. Brad is just such a special player because every time he walks on the pitch, you don't know whether he's in the mood for a scrap or in the mood to score 3. And it is such an interesting player to watch because there is the biggest likelihood in the world that he gets sent off. But there's also even like the same sort of likelihood that he scores. And the way that he's been playing in pre-season, he could be so integral to us getting any sort of result. I'm also confident. I did just say let's bring us down to earth, but just speaking about Brad has got me excited. And I think that's the best part about the first game of the season is that really, Austin will think we're gonna get clobbered. I think that we're gonna walk away with the result because it's the magic of the season starting. The optimism just flows, and regardless of whether we've lost big players and whether you think we haven't replaced well or not, which I probably don't think we have to the same sort of caliber. I still think that just the first day of the season, you expect nothing but a win. And that is something that's so awesome about this league is that you can walk into it and feel that way. And some big names mentioned, Austin, some big names mentioned and big names that probably do worry me slightly. But there's just something about the first day of the season that just makes me think, wow, like maybe, just maybe we can go and cause an upset. And as Harry said earlier, that when the world's against Posh, we usually pull through and secure a result. And that's something that we've proven time and time again, except the playoffs. But apart from that, that is something that we have gone and proven. But look, we'll have to wait and see. And I am really, really looking forward to the game.
Right, we are almost there at the end of our first ever Countdown to Kickoff episode. But before we end, at the ending stage of each episode, we will be predicting our scores for the upcoming game and our first goal scorer. We'll go around the hosts and then come to Austin for his. Before we do that, I'd just like to promote the Next Level Barbell Club Predictions League. This is in conjunction with the Poshcast, sponsored by Next Level Barbell Club. You can enter for free, go on uptheposhcast.com, put in your email, and each week or each game day, predict what you think the score will be for the Posh game and who the first Posh goal scorer is, with 5 points per round up for grabs. At the end of each month, if you are the top scorer of points, you have the opportunity to be in the Next Level Barbell Club box at London Road Stadium. And if you're the winner the whole year with the most points, it is a £250 cash prize. To repeat, free to enter. All you need to do is go on the uptheposhcast.com website and click on the tab for the Next Level Barbell Club Predictions League. With that being said, let's go round. My prediction for this game, maybe no surprise, is Cardiff 3, Peterborough United 0. And so no Posh first goal scorer on this one. Charlie, who have you got?
I simply cannot bring myself to predict an opening day defeat. I'm not going to do it. So I've predicted Cardiff 0, Peterborough United 1, Brandon Keller with the goal, late on, curling it, top bins, hitting the Bellingham in front of the away end. It's going to be superb. I cannot wait for it. Throw Max down a couple of rows. I'm buzzing.
I'm just checking my shoulder to make sure John's not here. I'm getting a bit worried, but I think I'm also going to predict a Posh win. Charlie's got me in an optimistic mood, and I'm going to predict a 2-1 Posh win. I think we're going to score early. I think we're going to concede pretty soon after, and I just feel second half we're going to get a winner. And it's going to live long in my memory. It's a fantastic day considering the pessimistic summer that we've had. Goal scorer, I think it's going to be Declan Frith. I think he's going to get our season off the mark. He's been he's looked relatively impressive in the moments that he has played. Obviously, he does look still very raw, but I think he's someone that can make a difference and ultimately get our season off the mark.
Before we move on to Austin's prediction, if you look on screen now, you can see all 7 hosts' predictions. Obviously, you've just heard mine, Charlie, and Max's, but all 7 are now on screen. Let's see who gets closest. Austin, give us your score and first goal scorer, please. For Cardiff, of course, for the first goal scorer.
I'm going to agree with you, Harry. I'm going to go 3-0 Cardiff. I think Yusuf Salek scores the first goal. I think he is going to fly next season for the club. Him and Callum Robinson, if we can get them both scoring how everyone knows Robinson can, and Yusuf Salek came in and scored 9 goals from January in a squad that finished rock bottom in the Championship. I put him favourite to get the Golden Boot personally. I think 3-0, easy win, rock the season, and send the Posh down to get relegated.
Unbelievable. First ever guess, and he's shooting shots. I will love the humble pie if we win. I will love it, but I doubt it. And I think the arrogance will be justified. So for those getting involved in the Predictions League, remember, this is the first ever one. Remember to get in your predictions 2 hours before kickoff. So by 10:30 a.m. on Saturday. And with that being said, we are there. Austin, at the end of each episode, we go round and say, up the Poshcast.
Up the Poshcast, lads. Come on.
Up the Poshcast. Come on.
Up the Poshcast.
I'm surprised you didn't have a Swansea shirt on underneath the Peterborough one.
Yeah.